Welcome to Sure Shot this week, brought to you by Disinfectant. For me, having to say words that I never thought was going to come out of my mouth.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, you better get used to it because there's going to be a lot more of that as the season goes on. Cowboys 6-0 against the spread. But how about the words I thought I'd never say? That I bet on Tom Brady. And what did he do to me again? This time, Mark, if you want him, you're going to get that shot. Not yet.
Sure Shot, up next. Welcome to our socially distant episode of Sure Shot, so as to not infect Chad with the virus that I have.
Chad, who was 3-1, by the way.
1-3 week where it took the Dallas Cowboys to bail me out. I feel like I should bathe in bleach.
Let me tell you something. I don't know who's feeling worse. Even though you were 1-3 and I'm 3-1, I could have been 4-0. But it's this guy. Now it's official. Go ahead, Mark. He earned that. Bad Tom Brady. This guy keeps us all from the big money. 3-1 right here. Could have been 4-0. But let's go over these games and talk about it.
Do we have to? I mean, for real, man.
You know what? You know where you went wrong? The Washington football team.
You're right.
Two terrible teams. You can never bet on a terrible team. Just leave those games be because you don't know who's going to out-terrible the other.
And Washington is absolutely top to bottom the most terrible franchise in the National Football League. I mean, let's be real for a second. Mm-hmm. If you're going to fire a kicker who's inconsistent and you're going to bring in a guy who's never kicked in the NFL before with a last name like Blewett.
You blew it!
And he goes right
about
out
he went
there.
To Pitt.
And you've got guys that have come out of Pitt that didn't measure up. Can you say Hugh Green?
Well, I just want
Sorry.
to give a shout out to Chris Blewett. He made him in college. Sorry you didn't make it for Washington.
Dude, he blew it.
You blew it!
He was the culprit in DC for DC and losing in Denver. I mean, when you can't kick a field goal past the offensive lineman's backside, maybe you should be continuing to do what you were doing when Washington thought you were a better move than the previous inconsistent kicker, which cost you games earlier in the season.
Well, as the legend Chuck Noll would say, it may be time to move on with your life's work. Shout out to Chuck Noll. But let me go over this game where one team really wet the bed, and that was your Cincinnati Bengals. After beating the Ravens and looking so good, they go to New York and lay an egg and let the Jets take a victory over them and bring them only one game, only a half a game in first place in the AFC North. What do you say about that?
And you, as anybody knows, when you're traveling these days via airlines, that industry sucks. So
Yes.
if you lose to a team who is sort of part of that whole nomenclature, things are really bad. Now, look, I just think it was a banana peel type of game for Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. It was a perfect place for the Jets to get a W, and I just didn't think that the Jets were team enough to capitalize on it. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati going into New York, New Jersey, if you will, Jimmy Hoffa Stadium, and what ultimately happens is they're feeling good about themselves. Mm-hmm. They had beaten the Ravens. Yep. And the Jets just went out, played a little bit more focused. I told you.
With a total pedestrian quarterback. A total who was cut by the Jets 4 or 5 times.
But I told you last week that Robert Saleh's defense is a lot better than people give it credit for. And that, in the end, was ultimately what their game. You're going to have and remember, Cincinnati's still a young team. They're still growing.
They're just not quite ready for prime time. They're not ready to be the strong favorites. They're not ready to go in and be, they're used to that underdog role. It feeds them. And this time it worked against them. And one other game I wanted to talk to you about were the Rams, who I told you guys were going to demolish the sleepwalking Texans. Now they add Von Miller. All chips are pushed to the middle. It's Super Bowl or bust.
You're right. But I tell you what, that's a lot of assets in the future that they've given away for right now. So if they're not playing in February in SoFi Stadium, they could end up ruining the day that they gave up 2 second-day picks in the 2022 draft, for a 34-year-old defensive lineman. And there are rumors that there was something beneath the surface with that trade, something involving a party that involved Migos.
Really?
Yes.
What?
And Von Miller, that is, was upset that his teammates basically thought it was a freebie, didn't contribute to the party. It became something under the surface in that locker room, and ultimately the franchise thought it was best to fish and cut bait. They cut bait, and they got 2 draft picks. I'd have to say, on the surface,
Broncos win that one.
Broncos win that
they were
one,
going nowhere
unless the Rams win the Super Bowl. It's all in, like you said.
Because what were the Broncos going to do this year? Have some more Migos concerts. Because they ain't winning the football game. Might as well enjoy yourself.
So what does this say about the mediocre division that is the AFC West? I mean, everybody's between 4-4 and 5-2.
No, well, I say just don't sleep on those Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders. They'll always be Oakland to me. But the Vegas Raiders, I don't know what's gotten into them, but ever since Gruden's gone, they've been extremely tough. Oh, one more team we got to mention before we get to Corey. What about the Titans? Squeeze out that victory over the Colts, but
Huge.
now Derrick Henry.
It's the most devastating blow in the league. I mean, let's be real for a second. He was trending towards a 2,400-yard potentially type of season running the football, and was going to really make us rethink the position about what was the greatest running back individual season ever. But he's done. And that is a significant derailment to how the AFC is going to be played, unless avocado milkshakes have been poured for Adrian Peterson.
What?
That's right.
What?
They picked up Adrian Peterson, and we've seen he's a power physical back.
Oh, my God.
We use him sparingly. He had a year off. We always know he recharges the batteries. So
oh my God.
all things considered, you add him to just move the chains. If Ryan Tannehill makes the plays when they're out there.
In a year and a half?
Okay. But what was really going, how many players opted out last year, though, and got their bodies right? He's always been in great shape.
I guess he went and got a COVID shot.
Well, so there it is. Hey, funny how when you need to pay the feds, you find a reason to go get vaccinated. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, back on the other side, we go inside the sports book with our sultan of the sports book, Corey Parson. Sure Shot continues as we are joined by our Sultan of the Sportsbook, Corey Parson. And CP, man, I need you, man. I'm dealing with lashes from the backside, bro. 1-3, tough week, man. I can't believe where I was wrong, dude. I mean, and you'll enjoy this. I was actually left to pull for the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night to bail me out. I feel like I should bathe in bleach. What's the deal?
Ain't nothing much to deal with. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I was off the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't participate in that game this weekend because, last season, no Dak Prescott, Cowboys were 5-11 ATS. I figured it would be a similar situation. Obviously, that wasn't the case this time. Cooper Rush came in, did a fantastic job. And listen, the Cowboys are 6-1 straight up, undefeated against the spread, with a matchup versus the Denver Broncos coming up. It's going to be interesting to see how long they can take this undefeated ATS record, because they have the schedule opens up over the course of the next couple of weeks. So listen, me being somebody that roots for the Dallas Cowboys, I've seen this before, but I would say that I am I would say that optimism is starting to build.
Corey, let me tell you something. This is the week where you can throw all those past years aside, because these Cowboys right here started off 2.5-point underdogs. Dak Prescott gets announced that he's not starting. The line jumps up where the Cowboys are getting 2.5, they still win outright. Like you said, 5-1 or 6-0 against the spread so far this year. Doesn't it seem like a different Cowboy team to you? Doesn't this team seem like a Cowboy team that can go deep into the playoffs, perhaps even a Super Bowl run?
Well, let's as me being somebody that's a rooter, I'm going to pump the brakes because I've seen this before. This is a couple of things I will say. Shout out to Dan Quinn for basically changing his defense around, understanding that running that old school Seahawks defense was not going to work no more. That was very important. Also, Kellen Moore not being a contractor and actually running the football to pace the game and set the tone for the game has been very good. But ultimately, I still believe that at some point, Mike McCarthy is going to get in the way of greatness.
All right, there were two seismic shifts this week in terms of teams relative to movement of players. Let's start with the Rams and the acquisition of Von Miller from Denver. How do you think that impacts the Rams as a bet for winning the Super Bowl right now? And B, overall, do you think that they are now the best team in the NFC West?
I would say that they're the best team in the NFC West. We also got to keep an eye on, as we talked about earlier, Kyler Murray is banged up, which is going to be a thing because of his size. I would say that the Rams are the best team in the NFC West, maybe possibly the best team in the NFC. I had them in the best team in the NFC coming into the year. Now, with Miller can play his game now, because Miller playing on every down and being the face of a franchise in Denver, he's not that player no more. Now you get him out there for 2 or 3 downs a series and you rotate him in, that's going to be a better fit for him. Like I said, he's not that dominant player no more, but you put him on that defense, you make him essentially a part-time player, and I think we see the best from Von Miller. The Rams do not care about draft picks. They are going for it. Now, here's the thing. When this is over, they're going to be terrible.
Well, wait, let me piggyback on what Mark said. Corey, what do you think about a prop bet, just putting some money on the Rams to go to the NFC Championship and or to go to the Super Bowl, not necessarily to win either game? What do you think the odds would be on that?
Is a good bet to make the Rams to win the NFC. The only thing with the Rams is sometimes they lose focus and they can't stop the run. That's the only thing I would really worry about that. If you can play keep away and run the football against them, you can be successful. But here's the thing. This is Sean McVay, and he's done it before, takes these teams deep into the playoffs. So I listen, I think the Rams are legit. I think putting something down on the Rams to win the NFC is a smart move. I have Rams to win the NFC futures from prior to the season. That's looking pretty good right now.
So, Corey, are the Tennessee Titans now off the board totally when it comes to dog, favorite, or what have you,
Done.
Now that they won't have Derrick Henry for the rest of the season?
Look at the Tennessee Titans and start considering fate. The Tennessee Titans, that victory over the Colts was big because they put themselves in a situation to where it would really take the Colts a lot to catch them. And we can, and trust me, if the Colts get close, bad Carson Wentz will show up and be like, okay, we're not close. They're a playoff team. They're probably a first round exit. I don't think nobody means more to their team than Derrick Henry means to the Titans. Maybe Lamar Jackson to the Ravens.
Very good point. And let me just squeeze in one more question while we still have you. Who would be your favorites, Corey, right now? We're midway through the season to drop some money on to go to the AFC Championship and or go to the Super Bowl representing the AFC on a prop bet.
The AFC is a tough conference this year. I think, obviously, we came in looking at the AFC as it's going to be top heavy with the AFC, with teams like the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, and Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City thing is a problem. Kansas City's not a good football team. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City didn't make the playoffs. The situation with Andy Reid's son from the Super Bowl last year.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think that could be grinding on that team a little bit. Also, you see people take away Tyreek Hill, and causing the Chiefs to go on long drives, and it's not happening. I think we are down to the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's the AFC Championship game this year.
Wow. I think you're underselling Cincinnati just a little bit as a Cinderella story, my friend. I think that they have proven that they have the parts. Their defense is sneaky better than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, they also lost to the Jets.
Well, it does happen. I mean, everybody has a glitch on their resume, but I'm looking at them. But I also wanted to get your thoughts before we let you go on the Baker Mayfield beef in Cleveland and his injury, as well as the loss of Jameis Winston with the Saints. Is there any way that with the play calling ability of Sean Payton that he can play Trevor Siemian into a 2021 version of Trent Dilfer circa 2000 with the Baltimore Ravens?
You know, Sean Payton may be the best coach in sports, not just football, in sports. We saw what he did with Teddy Bridgewater, right? We saw what he's done with Taysom Hill. He was doing it with Jameis. And now Trevor Siakam, whatever his name is, comes in. Trevor Siemian comes in and he knocks off the Buccaneers. After the game, Sean Payton said he got a text message from Coach K, and Coach K basically told him that was an amazing coaching job. I think the Saints are a playoff team, but I think when you look at the top dogs in the NFC, I think they would all beat the Saints, but the Saints are definitely a playoff team. And listen, I don't think they lose a beat with Trevor Siemian. I don't think they lose a beat at all. I think they continue on and they continue to play well. They won't win that division, but they'll be second in that division, and they'll definitely be an NFC wildcard team.
That's our Sultan of the Sports Book. He is Corey Parson. You can check him out at NBC Sports Edge. And what's the deal on Friday mornings?
Friday mornings on NBC Sports Edge, we got our weekly betting cheat sheet hitting at over a 65% rate right now. And also this week, you want to look out, if you are a subscriber to Peacock, Blitzing the Board with Warren Sharp and myself, hosted by your boy this week. So, you know, starting to make a little bit of a come up. And so we on the big network now. So we'll see what we can do.
That's our Sultan of the Sports Book, Corey Parson. Check him out at NBC Sports Edge and on Peacock. Always a pleasure, bro. See you down in the great state of South Carolina at an HBCU game sometime real soon.
No doubt.
Catch you next week, bro.
All right, man. I got to dig out of that ground hole.
All right, well, I defer.
All right.
And let you.
All right, I'll kick things off with the sure shots, and we're going to start with the LA Rams, where, as we record, I'm getting 4 points as a favorite versus the Tennessee Titans, and I'm going to take that 4. I like that 4 because I think a lot of money is going to, come in on Tennessee. It's going to drop to less than a field goal, and I really like the Rams to be able to cover that. Look, Ryan Tannehill versus Matt Stafford should be a heck of a quarterback matchup because Tannehill, certainly if you're a fantasy player like I am, has been balling lights out. However, too many offensive weapons to me for the Rams, and the perfect elixir to stop a passing attack is a run game that is going to be hollow without Derrick Henry. So I love the position that the Rams are in to take on one of the best teams in the AFC and to come out with a dub. Take the Rams if you can get them at 4, and as that line starts dropping, they're gonna look like one of those hot Laker girls from back in the day.
Yeah, from back in the day.
Yeah, you
like
remember
when they had Paul Abdul.
Yeah, when they used to get their body parts fixed and all that, and
Does
enhancements.
anybody remember Paul Abdul even besides me? Good
Yeah.
God. All right, well, let me give you week 1 right here.
Hard to forget.
Denver plus 7.5 at the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys we talked about before? Here's your hand sanitizer. The Cowboys keep rolling, winning on the field and against the spread, 6-0, beating the Vikings in Minnesota without Dak Prescott. who should be back healthy this week. While Denver, well, they just lost Von Miller to Amigos concert. We talked about that earlier. Take the Cowboys
because
to win
of Amigos concert.
and cover. Could you ever think, how did Amigos figure into sports betting? It's just a crazy world.
Well, it is a crazy world. But, when Von's giving a party and expecting his teammates to pay
Straight cash, homie.
and doesn't let them know, then that's why he's probably got a new
Maybe they
address
didn't like
out on
Bad and
Venice
Bougie.
Beach.
Not everybody's a fan.
Everybody ain't a
Everybody's
fan
not
of
a
bad
fan.
and bougie.
That's right.
It's a fine art to be bad and bougie. Yeah. Speaking of, let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings, who go at home, go to Baltimore, I should say, to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens have had a week to sit off. John Harbaugh is notorious for having great teams coming out of the bye week. Mm-hmm. And you're getting the Ravens early in the week at less than a touchdown. One would figure that money is going to continue to come in on Minnesota. No, I would say Minnesota, depending on what happens with Dalvin Cook. Okay. Dalvin Cook is nursing a couple of injuries. If he's able to play, I think that'll shrink the number. If not, it may increase. But I love the fact that I can get Baltimore at less than a touchdown right now. I'm going to take the Ravens, less the 6 that I'm getting when we record right now, to beat the Minnesota Vikings outright.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if that line goes down and it's Ravens in 5, Ravens in 4, I'm all over that. Right. That's a good one. I think the Ravens are going to blow them out. I think Kirk Cousins has been exposed as an average quarterback at best, and I think that that's a no-brainer. Good one there. Like it. My number 2, Chicago +5 at Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin loves to say, the standard is the standard. Well, after beating Baker Mayfield-led Cleveland Browns in Cleveland without a kicker, you can call me Neo from the Matrix because, as Morpheus said, I'm beginning to believe. Take the Steelers to win outright. Cover that 5. I think the Steelers win going away. It's a safe bet. Ben is rolling. Did you see that quarterback run from the 5-yard line? They called it back, but he made it in there.
I know you're not getting on me for not believing in Ben. I've seen the act before. I live in Baltimore.
Okay.
I know what Ben can do. Come on, man. I was trying to convince folks that he still was drinking from the, fountain of something, and it's not like alcohol anymore.
One thing you know for sure, this is going to be his final season by his celebration in Cleveland. You knew that was his last game, so we putting our chips in, too. We right there with you, L.A.
All right. So coming up, another big AFC North Division
I knew you were gonna
matchup.
pick that one.
Cincinnati -3 at home versus Cleveland. I like the Bengals. I know this is a man-up moment for the Browns, but even in their loss at the Jets, I think that was a good place in the beginning of the season or at this point in the season for a young team.
It's a good checkup.
That doesn't know a lot about success to be humbled, and they're catching Cleveland with a ailing quarterback and a receiving core that has a bad case of butterfingers.
And some controversy there with OBJ and OBJ's father and Baker Mayfield.
And Instagram.
That's
to the story, if your team's in contention for the playoffs, stay off Instagram.
Yeah, and keep your parents off Instagram, too.
And stay away from the Instagram masseuses, but I digress. So I'm still going to roll Cincinnati minus the 3 points. That will only drop during the course of the week. I doubt very seriously if any money action is going to come in on Cleveland in that one because of the things and the way Scream TV drives the story. I'm taking Cincinnati. I like them in that field goal spot.
Yeah, we still don't know how healthy Baker is, so I like that pick. I like that a lot. My third game, Green Bay, +2.5. You heard me right. I said Green Bay +2.5 at Kansas City. Okay, everyone, this one smells like this line stinks. The Packers begin the week getting 2.5 against the Chiefs. Now it appears the line dropped to 1 as of this afternoon, so you've got to really check this one out. Because if it dropped to 1 that early, there's a whole bunch of money going on Green Bay. The line may be fluctuating. But, I do not believe the Chiefs, as currently constituted, can beat the Aaron Rodgers-led Green Bay Packers at home or away. So if you're going to go the other way and give me points with Green Bay, I'm going to take them. Take the Packers at any points you can get.
Yeah, and to the point that Corey made about the stench that's hovering over the Kansas City thing having something to do with Andy Reid's kid, I think that's real. And the fact
I've been
that
talking about it. Yep.
they haven't made the proper adjustment to being patient enough with the football to nickel and dime their way down the field. Kansas City just got to have a philosophical concept change of how they want to attack offense. Nickels and dimes add up in any jar. It takes a long time, but ultimately you can go to Coinstar and cash them in.
Yeah,
that's what
that big play.
Yeah, man, they want
splash.
that Bitcoin moment. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't happening.
Golden State Warriors of football.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
But you know something? Golden State's healthy. Kansas City isn't. And so I think that when you start looking at how the Chiefs are trending towards the final quarter of the season, I'm not feeling good about them. You know who I am feeling good about?
This is your sure shot?
My sure shot.
Give it to me.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
All right.
I like the Raiders. You know, commitment to excellence. You will look excellent as you cover -2.5 versus the New York Football Giants. Look, a resilient effort against Kansas City in Kansas City. You got to go back to the crib. You're hosting the Raiders. But there's something about the toughness of the Raiders. You know, you can say what you want about having a special teams coach on the sidelines, but watching the impact that a guy like John Harbaugh can have, it's really about managing the game, keeping guys motivated and focused. And you don't have to worry about calling plays because your play is making sure the right group of people is in there unless you're calling a special teams play. I love the place that they're in right now. They're going to New York. Hopefully the Raiders aren't cheap and they get there a day and a half earlier. But I really like where the Raiders are at the Giants because I can get 2.5 when I'm dropping some loot on it this week.
That one makes me just a little nervous because the Giants have steadily trended upwards. I mean, 2.5, okay. 2.5, you could lay that. That's not a bad one. A little scary for me, but my sure shot goes over something that you picked earlier on, but I believe it with all my heart. We've got Tennessee +4 at the LA Rams. If you haven't gotten the message yet, make no mistake, the Rams have already signaled they are going all in their quest for a Super Bowl this year by trading for Matthew Stafford. But now with their pickup of Von Miller to show up an already stout defense, well, to quote the legendary Notorious B.I.G., if you don't know, now you know. And I want to say what comes after that so bad, but I won't. While Tennessee has lost the best running back in the
cable, you can.
With Derrick Henry out for the year. I got L.A. cruising in this one. Take the Rams to win and cover. Cruising down the 101.
Well, since you're going to bring hip-hop lyrics into it, can I give you a little, Humpty Hump?
Go ahead.
You know, we going down the street. I forgot the line.
No, next time. Remember the Humpty Hump and bring it. A lot of people don't know that Tupac was a member of Digital Underground.
Yeah, man. It was a great line back in the day, and it just absolutely skips my mind. But you know what lines won't? The lines on the sports book. So remember, boys and girls, these are for entertainment purposes only. Don't risk more than you can afford to lose. And if you think there's a problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. Call, talk to somebody. Keep your hands off the mortgage and out of the college fund. I'm looking forward to next week, man. It can't get any worse.
And I won't need hand sanitizer unless I mess with this guy, and I refuse. Yes, go ahead. That's right.
You better
bad Tom Brady.
Cover, fool. Anyway, that's your shot for this week. And if the Patriots, if Brady doesn't cover, we got a sure shot for him.
Yeah, don't blame me. I'm out the Tom Brady game.
That's Chad. I'm Mark. Deuces.